In the vastness of eternity, before time as you know it even began, I knew you. Before the stars were set into motion, before the first breath of creation was whispered into existence, I saw you, not as a fleeting thought or a distant idea, but as a complete, intricate, and beautiful soul. You were not an accident. You were not a mistake. You were carefully crafted with love, intention, and purpose. Every fiber of your being, every strand of your soul was formed by my hands. When I created the heavens and the earth, I had you in mind. When the oceans roared and the mountains stood tall, I saw the day you would enter this world. I knew the sound of your laughter before you ever laughed. I knew the way you would cry before you ever shed a tear. Every heartbeat, every breath you have taken, I have counted, I have cherished. I have watched over with a love so deep, so unfathomable, that even if you spent a lifetime trying to comprehend it, you would barely scratch the surface. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. I knew your strengths and your weaknesses. I knew the battles you would face, the struggles that would try to break you. I knew the moments you would doubt your worth, question your purpose, and wonder if you truly mattered. And yet, even in those moments, even in the times you felt the most unseen, the most unheard, I was there. I have always been there. I will always be there. You are not here by chance. The world may try to convince you that your existence is random, that your life is insignificant. But hear me now, my child. You were planned. You were set apart. You were created for a reason beyond what your eyes can see, beyond what your mind can comprehend. There is a divine orchestration to your life, a masterpiece being painted with each passing moment, even in the times that feel chaotic, broken, or uncertain. From the very beginning, I placed gifts within you. You are not empty, nor are you lacking. You have a fire inside of you, a divine spark that has been waiting to ignite. The enemy has tried to dim your light, to make you believe that you are nothing more than ordinary. But I am here to tell you that you are extraordinary. You carry my breath within you. You are my creation, my beloved, my child. Think about the intricacy of your being, every detail of your body, your mind, your soul. I fashioned it all with purpose. Your fingerprints are unique, one of a kind, never to be repeated in all of history. Your voice is distinct. Your thoughts are your own. Your spirit is unlike any other. There will never be another you. In all of time, in all of creation, you are the only one who carries your exact design. That is not an accident. That is divine intention. Even the trials you have faced, the pain that has pierced your heart, the wounds that have left scars, none of it has been in vain. I saw it all before it ever came to pass. And though it may have broken you, though it may have left you questioning where I was, I want you to know that I never left. I held you through it all. I wept when you wept. I felt the weight of your suffering, the heaviness of your burdens. You were never alone. I know there have been times when you felt forgotten, overlooked, cast aside. There have been moments when you cried out, and it felt as if your prayers vanished into nothingness. But my child, I have heard every whisper of your heart. I have seen every silent tear. Even when you could not feel me, I was working behind the scenes. I was shaping you, molding you, preparing you for something greater. You see, I do not make mistakes. Everything I do is intentional. Every season of your life, every triumph, every heartbreak, every door that opened, and every door that closed, it has all been part of a plan far beyond what you can now comprehend. Even in the moments you questioned why, even in the times you thought I had abandoned you, I was weaving something beautiful out of what seemed like ruins. Before you took your first breath, I had a purpose for you. I called you by name before the world even knew you existed. You are not defined by your past, your failures, or your mistakes. You are not who the world says you are. You are who I say you are. And I say that you are loved. I say that you are chosen. I say that you are mine. You may feel small in this world, like just another face in the crowd. But my child, you are known by the Creator of the universe. Every thought you have, every dream in your heart, every fear you carry, I know it all. I see the depths of your soul, the things you hide from others, the battles you fight in silence. And even still, I love you. I have never stopped loving you. I will never stop loving you. I have walked with you through every season of your life. I have celebrated your victories, stood with you in your failures, and lifted you when you could not stand on your own. And I will continue to do so. Nothing can separate you from my love. Not your mistakes, not your doubts, not your fears. I am not like the world, which loves conditionally, which turns away when things get hard. I am constant, unwavering, eternal. You are my creation. You are my masterpiece. You are my beloved. And though this world may try to tell you otherwise, though the enemy may whisper lies into your mind, remember this: before you were born, I knew you, and I have never, not even for a single moment, taken my eyes off you. My child, trust in this truth. Walk in this truth. Do not let the world define you, for you were defined by my love before the world even began. And that love, it is everlasting. It is unshakable. It is yours. I am with you. I have always been with you. I will always be with you. Even before you took your first breath, I knew you. I formed you, set you apart, and placed you in this world with purpose. And yet, even knowing all of this, there were still times when you doubted, times when you felt alone, abandoned, unseen. There were moments when you whispered into the night asking, God, where are you? And you heard nothing but silence. But my child, I was there. I have always been there. I have never left your side, not even for a single moment. I know the weight you have carried. I know the battles you have fought in silence. I know the nights when sleep refused to come because your mind was too restless, too burdened with worries and fears. I saw you staring at the ceiling, wondering if your prayers were reaching me, wondering if I was even listening. I was listening. I have heard every word, every cry, every unspoken thought you were too afraid to say aloud. You were never speaking into emptiness. You were speaking to me, and I was right there beside you. You see, my beloved, I do not come and go as the world does. People may walk away. They may abandon you, reject you, break promises they swore they would keep. They may love you one day and turn their backs on you the next. But I am not like them. I do not leave when things get hard. I do not disappear when the storms rage. I do not forsake those I call my own. I am steadfast, constant, unchanging. From the moment I breathed life into you, I have been with you, and nothing can separate you from my presence. There have been times in your life when you have wondered why I allowed certain things to happen. You have questioned my silence in your suffering, my stillness in your storms. You have cried out, if you are here, why do I feel so alone? My child, just because you do not see me, just because you do not always feel me, does not mean I am not working. There are things I have shielded you from that you will never know. There are battles I have fought on your behalf, wars that waged against your soul, that I have won without you ever realizing you were in danger. You have been held in my hands more times than you can count. Do you remember the moments when you felt like giving up? When you were at your lowest and you thought, I can't do this anymore? Do you remember how somehow strength found you? How, when you were convinced you had nothing left, you still managed to rise? That was me. That was my hand lifting you when you could not stand on your own. That was my whisper in your heart, telling you to hold on, to keep going, to not let the darkness consume you. I have carried you through more than you realize. Think back to the times when everything seemed to fall apart, when doors shut, opportunities slipped away, and you thought you had lost everything. At the time, it felt like I was punishing you, like I had forgotten you. But now, looking back, do you see what I was doing? Do you see how I was redirecting you, protecting you, leading you away from what would have harmed you? Every no you received was because I had something better in store. Every path that closed was because I was guiding you towards something greater. You may not have understood then, but trust me, I was with you in every step, in every setback, in every heartbreak. There have also been moments of joy, moments where you laughed until your stomach hurt, where you felt peace so deep that it quieted your soul. Those moments were not by accident. I was in them too. Every good thing you have ever experienced was a gift from me, a reminder that even in a world of pain, there is still beauty, there is still love, there is still hope. I placed those moments in your life to remind you that you are not alone, that even in the chaos there is light. But I know you still wonder, God, if you are with me, why do I still suffer? My child, I do not promise a life without trials. I never said you would walk through this world without pain. But I did promise this, that you would never walk through it alone. You will face hardships, yes. You will encounter sorrow, loss, and struggle. But through it all, I will be your refuge, your strength, your ever-present help in times of trouble. There is no storm too great, no valley too deep, no darkness too overwhelming that I cannot walk you through it. When the waves crash and the winds howl, I will be your anchor. When the fire rages and threatens to consume you, I will be your shield. When the burdens feel too heavy, I will carry them with you. You do not have to do this alone. You were never meant to. I have walked beside you in every season, through childhood laughter, through teenage uncertainty, through the weight of adulthood, through the heartbreaks, the failures, the victories. I have seen the tears you have wiped away before anyone else could notice. I have heard the silent prayers you whispered in fear that no one else would understand. And I have answered you in ways you may not have even recognized. I was there when you thought you were alone at night, when you stared into the darkness, feeling like no one in the world cared. I was there when you walked into a crowded room and still felt invisible. I was there when your heart broke into 1,000 pieces, when you didn't think you would ever be whole again. I was there when you fell, and I was there when you rose again, and I am still here now. Right now, in this very moment, I am with you. As you listen to these words, as your heart stirs with something deeper than just emotion, know that this is me speaking to you. This is not a coincidence. You were meant to hear this. You were meant to be reminded that you are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. You are seen. You are held. You are deeply, infinitely, overwhelmingly loved. So do not fear what is ahead. Do not let the worries of tomorrow steal the peace I have for you today. You do not have to navigate this life on your own. I am here, just as I have always been, just as I always will be. And when you are afraid, when you feel lost, when the weight of the world feels too much, simply whisper my name. I will answer. I will remind you that you are not alone, because, my beloved, I have never left your side, and I never will. Even in the silence, even when you felt like your prayers went unanswered, I was there. I was speaking to you in ways beyond words, in signs you didn't always recognize. But now, my child, let me show you. Let me take you to the moments when you thought I wasn't there at all. Because even then, even in the silence, I was closer than you ever imagined. I have never left you, not for a second, not for a breath, not even in the moments when you thought I was silent. But I know there were times when you doubted, times when you prayed with everything in you and all you heard was silence, times when you searched for a sign, for an answer, for something, anything, that would prove I was still there. And when nothing came, when the heavens seemed quiet and the weight of your burdens grew heavier, you wondered, God, have you forgotten me? But my child, I was never gone. I was speaking to you in ways beyond words and moments beyond what your eyes could see. I was working in the unseen, moving things into place, aligning what needed to be aligned. And though you did not hear me the way you wanted to, I was never absent. I was never ignoring you. I was never distant. I was closer than your own heartbeat. I know the silent nights that felt endless. I know the mornings when you woke up and felt no different than the day before. I know the prayers that you whispered in desperation, only to be met with what seemed like empty air. But my beloved, just because you did not hear my voice does not mean I was not speaking. Just because you did not see immediate change does not mean I was not working. My ways are higher than your ways. My timing is beyond your understanding. And in the moments when you thought I wasn't there, I was holding you closer than ever. Think back to the times when you cried yourself to sleep, feeling like no one in the world understood your pain. You felt unseen, unheard, forgotten. But I was there, watching over you, whispering comfort even when you could not perceive it. Every tear that fell was counted. Every ache of your heart was felt by me. And though you could not see the answer in that moment, I was already working things for your good. You see, I do not always answer the way you expect me to. Sometimes I answer in whispers instead of thunder. Sometimes I speak through a door that closes, through a delay that frustrates you, through a redirection that confuses you. Sometimes I speak through the people I send into your life, through a friend's kindness, through a stranger's encouragement, through a moment of unexpected peace in the middle of chaos. But because you were looking for me in a specific way, you missed the ways I was already speaking. There were times when you thought I was silent, but I was protecting you. When you prayed for something, begged for something, and it did not happen, you assumed I did not hear you. But my child, I did hear you, and I knew that what you were asking for was not what you needed. I knew that what you thought was best would have led you down a path of pain, of destruction, of heartbreak. So I withheld it, not to punish you, not to ignore you, but to protect you. You asked for certain doors to open, and when they didn't, you felt abandoned. But if you had seen what was behind those doors, you would have thanked me for keeping them shut. If you had known what I was protecting you from, you would not have questioned my silence. My child, my silence was never rejection. It was never indifference. It was love. It was wisdom. It was divine intervention in ways you could not understand at the time. There were moments when you faced hardship and you wondered, God, where are you? But I was right there in the middle of it. I was there when you felt too weak to stand, when you thought you had reached your breaking point. I was the strength that carried you through. I was the unseen force that kept you from completely falling apart. You thought you made it through on your own, but it was never just you. It was me. It was always me. Do you remember that one time when you almost gave up? When you were so close to letting go, so close to surrendering to despair, and yet somehow something held you back. Somehow hope still lingered. Somehow you found the strength to take one more step. That was me. That was my voice, my presence, my hand reaching out even when you couldn't see it. I was in the moments when someone unexpectedly reached out to check on you. I was in the song that played at just the right time, speaking the words your heart needed to hear. I was in the sunrise that reminded you that a new day was possible, in the quiet breeze that whispered peace to your soul. My child, I was in it all. You just didn't recognize me. But I know how hard it is to trust when all you hear is silence. I know how much you long for clear answers, for undeniable signs. And I promise you this, there will be a day when you will look back and see that I was working in every moment. There will be a time when the pieces come together, when the things that didn't make sense finally reveal their purpose. And you will realize that I was never absent. I was never indifferent. I was never silent. I was simply speaking in a way you did not yet understand. My child, I need you to trust me, even when you do not hear me the way you expect. I need you to believe that my love for you does not waver based on what you can perceive. I need you to hold on to the truth that I have never, not even for a second, abandoned you. My love is constant. My presence is unwavering. My plans for you are still unfolding. So do not mistake my silence for absence. Do not mistake my stillness for inactivity. I am always working, always moving, always leading you toward what is best. Even now, in this very moment, I am here. Even now, I am speaking. Even now, I am reminding you, you were never alone. And though my voice was quiet in the past, though you may have struggled to hear me, I need you to know this. Whenever you have called my name, I have answered. Maybe not in the way you expected, maybe not in the way you recognized, but I have always answered. Now, let me show you how. You have called my name more times than you realize, sometimes in desperation, sometimes in fear, sometimes in longing, and sometimes simply because you didn't know where else to turn. And each time, whether you realized it or not, I answered. My child, I have never ignored you. I have never turned my face away. When you cried out in the depths of your pain, when you whispered my name through trembling lips, when you uttered a silent plea that no one else heard, I heard it all. I answered. I always answer. But I know that sometimes my answers did not come in the way you expected. I know there were moments when you thought I was distant, when you felt like your prayers were bouncing off the walls unheard, but they were not unheard. They were not lost. Every prayer you have ever prayed has reached me, and not one of them has been forgotten. Some prayers I answered immediately. Some I answered in ways you did not recognize. And some, my beloved, I am still answering. You see, when you called out to me, my response was never no. It was always one of three things: yes, not yet, or I have something better for you. And though you may not have understood it in the moment, every answer I gave was wrapped in love, wisdom, and a purpose far greater than what you could see. Do you remember the times you begged for something to happen and it didn't? At the time you felt abandoned, disappointed, maybe even betrayed. But now, looking back, can you see why? Can you see how I was protecting you? How I was leading you away from harm, from heartbreak, from a path that would have taken you further from me? Child, I answered. I answered by withholding what would have hurt you. I answered by closing doors that were not meant for you. I answered by redirecting your steps, even when you did not understand. And what about the moments when you felt completely alone, when you cried out in the darkness and all you heard was silence? Oh, my beloved, I was answering you then too. But my answer was not in words, it was in my presence. It was in the way you made it through when you thought you wouldn't. It was in the unexpected comfort that found you when you needed it most. It was in the stranger who smiled at you at just the right moment, in the friend who reached out when you felt like no one cared. That was me. That was my way of reminding you, I am with you. I was answering when you found strength you didn't know you had. I was answering when peace settled over your heart, even when your situation had not yet changed. I was answering when you were guided toward a better path, even though you didn't recognize it at the time. And what about the prayers you thought were ignored? My child, I have not forgotten them. Not a single one. Some prayers take time to be fulfilled because I am preparing something greater for you. Some answers require patience because the timing must be perfect. You see, I do not work on human timelines, I work in divine timing. And when the right moment comes, when everything is perfectly aligned, you will see that I was never withholding, I was preparing. I know how hard it is to wait. I know the frustration of longing for an answer, of wanting to see the path clearly. But trust me, my beloved, I am working even when you cannot see it. Every moment of waiting is not wasted. Every delay is purposeful. And when the time is right, my answer will come, not a second too early, not a second too late, but exactly when it is meant to. Do you remember the times when you felt hopeless, when you thought your situation was beyond repair? And yet, somehow things shifted. Somehow what seemed impossible began to change. That was me. That was my answer unfolding before your eyes. I was moving, aligning, restoring, even before you knew it was happening. And even now, as you hear these words, I am still answering you. I am still reminding you that you are not alone, that I have heard every cry, every whisper, every unspoken word, and I am responding. Sometimes in ways you recognize, and sometimes in ways you won't understand until later. But my response is always rooted in love. My response is always for your good. So do not lose heart. Do not grow weary in waiting. Do not believe the lie that I have forgotten you. I have not forgotten. I have not ignored. I have not abandoned. Every time you have called my name, I have answered. And I will continue to answer again and again because you are mine. You are my child, my creation, my beloved, and I will never turn away from you. Hold on to this truth. Whenever you call, I am there. Whenever you seek me, you will find me. Whenever you need me, I will answer. Because I am not just a God who listens, I am a God who responds. I am a God who moves, who acts, who loves without condition, without limit, without end. And now, my child, I want to show you something even deeper. You have called on me, and I have answered. But do you know that even before you called, even before you spoke a word, I was already working on your behalf? Even before you realized your need, I was already making a way. Now, let me take you to that truth. Let me reveal what has been happening behind the scenes all along. Even before you called my name, I was there. Even before you realized what you needed, I was preparing the answer. My child, let me show you how I have always been working behind the scenes, how I have always been making a way, even before you knew you needed one. My beloved, long before you ever whispered a prayer, long before you cried out for help, I was already working on your behalf. Even before your heart knew what it needed, before your lips could form the words, I had already set things in motion. You see, my love for you is not reactive, it is proactive. I do not wait for you to realize your need before I begin preparing the answer. I am a God who goes before you, a God who moves ahead of your every step, a God who lays the foundation long before you even realize you will walk that path. When you were still a child, when you had not yet known the depth of struggles that life would bring, I was already weaving a story for you. I placed certain people in your life, knowing they would one day play a role in lifting you up when you needed it most. I allowed certain experiences to shape you, knowing they would one day strengthen you for the battles ahead. I positioned you in places where you would one day find purpose, long before you even knew what purpose was. I was there, working behind the scenes, when you thought everything was falling apart. Do you remember the seasons of confusion, when nothing seemed to make sense? When you questioned why certain doors closed, why certain relationships ended? You've wondered why certain relationships ended, or why dreams slipped away. At the time, it felt like abandonment, but I was preparing something greater. I removed things not to hurt you, but to make room for better. Detours and delays were part of my plan, guiding you to where you truly needed to be. Every step, every disappointment, shaped you for what was to come. Even before you prayed for protection, I shielded you. Remember moments when danger narrowly missed you? That was me. In your lowest times, I was working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, preparing breakthroughs. My plans often grow unseen, like seeds in soil. Trust that I'm working, even when you can't see it. You've prayed for doors to open, and when they didn't, you assumed I ignored you. But what if I was preparing something beyond your imagination? Sometimes what you ask for is too small. I'm shaping something greater. Look back. Moments of impossibility, strength and weakness were my hand at work. Trust that I'm ahead of you, answering prayers you haven't even spoken. You don't need all the answers. Trust that I love you, that I'm for you, that I'm always working on your behalf. I'm not just preparing your path, I'm walking it with you. You're never alone. Every step, every stumble, I've been there, lifting you up. Even when you felt lost, I guided you. Every detour, every wrong turn, I've used for good. You have dreams, desires, and I'm walking you toward them. The journey may look different than you expect, but it's shaping you for what's ahead. You don't have to rush. Walk with me, trust me. When the road feels heavy, I'll carry you. I'm not a distant God. I'm with you step by step. You've faced battles, visible and invisible. But you were never meant to fight alone. I'm your protector, your defender. Every battle, I've fought for you. Even when victory seemed delayed, I was strengthening you. You're not weak. You're armed with my spirit, my word, my presence. Stand firm in my authority and nothing can defeat you. The enemy tries to convince you you're losing, but the war is already won. On the cross, I declared victory. You're not fighting for victory, you're fighting from it. The enemy is defeated. Rise up, walk boldly, and shine the light I've placed in you. You were created for impact, to bring hope and love to the world. You may feel unqualified, but I've chosen you. You don't need the world's approval, you have mine. Step forward in faith and I'll be with you. The world needs your light. Go and shine.